What is up, guys? It's your boy Steadychaos coming to you with another picture settings video. So again, I want to preface this video by saying that picture settings are totally subjective, and whatever is most pleasing to your eye, please by all means set your television that way. There is really no right or wrong way to set your own television. You own the damn thing, set it as you see fit. Don't let somebody tell you how to set your own television. But with that out of the way, in my last video I did HDR gaming picture settings, and some people asked me what my SDR picture settings were for gaming, so I figured I'd bring you another video showing you those settings. Now, first thing I want to do is, this only pertains to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. You want to go to the settings and you want to go to sound and screen. Now, in my experience, you go to video output settings. If you're playing a lot of games that are, some are HDR, some are SDR, some are 4K, some are 1080p, you're kind of all over the spectrum, then I would recommend that you set resolution, RGB range, HDR, and deep color output to automatic. That way you're not getting stuck in a particular setting and then playing a game that has contradictory output or settings, and then your colors get messed up. Just set everything to automatic and you don't have to worry about your settings. The PlayStation 4 will automatically use the best setting for you depending on the game and your television. So that's why I have everything set to automatic here. I know it's tempting to jump in here and automatically select 2160p or YUV or RGB or oh yeah, deep color output. I gotta definitely put that on to automatic or set it to off, or just do automatic and you're all set. For instance, 2160p YUV 420 is for 4K HDR content. Due to bandwidth limitations, the chroma subsampling, instead of being 444, it is 420 or 422. If you're playing 4K 8-bit SDR game, then you can use a better color and a more uncompressed color, which is RGB. But again, you can get away with doing that in this instance because you're not playing HDR. If you were playing HDR, then there are bandwidth limitations, and that's why you need the 420. So that's why I say just set it to automatic. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. RGB range, automatic, you're good to go. Deep color output, automatic. Deep color output basically means if you're playing an HDR game, then you have a 10-bit color source, so you have deep color. If you're playing an 8-bit SDR game, you could get away with setting this to off, but again, the PlayStation 4 will recognize it's an 8-bit SDR game. It will turn a deep color off for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. So with that out of the way, I just wanted to preface the video by getting that in there. We can jump right into my picture settings. So I already have Days Gone loaded. So here we are. This is my picture setting for Days Gone in SDR. This is what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. Now, a common refrain that I hear from LG OLED owners in the comment section on some of my previous videos is that they say, Steady, my HDR image quality when gaming is amazing. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's crisp, it's colorful. When I switch down to SDR, I feel as though it is dark, it's muted, it's black crush. I don't like the way it looks. What's going on? So it makes sense that somebody might feel that way when going from predominantly gaming in HDR to all of a sudden playing a game in SDR. Because when you're playing a game in HDR, you're maxing out your TV's luminosity. For OLEDs here, you're talking 700, 750, 800 nits of brightness. So it makes sense that you would have a bright and pleasing image. When you go down to SDR, SDR games are mastered for 100 nits of brightness or around there, and this TV puts out around 320 nits of brightness in SDR mode. So that's a major drop from, say, 800 nits in HDR to 300 nits in SDR. That's a 500 nit drop. So it makes sense that you might say to yourself, why does this look so dim? There are ways though to set up your TV in SDR mode that you can combat this dimness, if you will. And I think here, if you look around, you see everything is nice and bright. It's realistic looking, it's pretty vibrant. The tones in his face look good. He doesn't look blown out, he's got a little color in his arm here. The school bus color I think looks pretty realistic. It's not blown out, it's not too dull. And if you go in, and the most important thing, if you go into a dark room with indirect lighting, there's no black crush on this setting. Look in here. You can see everything in here. You can see the toolbox looks nice and red. You can see the lockers, which are a dark shade of green. There's no crush there. You're not losing any detail there. Even when you come in here and you look at a Hive, or the remnants of a hive here. You see the wall? It's all very dark, but you're getting good detail in the wall. You're not losing anything, you're not experiencing any crush. So that is sort of the point of this SDR setting here, is to set it up in a way that even though you're working with less luminosity, you're not losing a ton of brightness, or at least perceived brightness. You know, in bright areas, things still pop and still look good and colorful, but in dark areas at the same time, things are defined, clear and crisp. You see where you're going, you're not missing any detail, so you're getting the best of both worlds in SDR. So let me show you what my picture settings are and how I achieve this. First things first, we'll go to all settings, and I want to take you to general, and I want to take you to AI service. Now this AI brightness control setting, you'll see what it says. The screen brightness is automatically adjusted in accordance with the brightness around your TV. So basically this is ambient light control, that your TV takes it upon itself to adjust the light depending on ambient lighting. If it's a bright day, then the TV will turn the brightness up. If it's a dark controlled room, the TV will turn the brightness down. In my opinion, you have calibrated the TV the way that you think it looks best, or the way that is most aesthetically pleasing to your eye. Why would you ever want your TV to take it upon itself to tinker with those settings? So that is why I say to turn this off. Again, you do what you feel you have to do, but I would recommend you turn this off. And then going back up to picture now, additional settings, instant game response, you want to make sure this is on for the HDMI port that you are using your game console with. And then HDMI Ultra HD Deep Color. Now this setting pertains more to HDR and 10-bit color, but in my experience, I just leave it on so that when you do play an HDR game, you are good to go. Having this on and playing an SDR game is not going to negatively impact you in any way. So that's why I say just leave it on so that when you do play an HDR game, you are good to go. Now, jumping eye comfort mode real quick, adjust color temperature automatically to reduce eye strain. Again, another one of those auto functions from the TV. Again, you have calibrated and set the TV the way you think it looks best. I would recommend you turn this off, as you do not want the TV to be adjusting or tinkering with the color temperature without your permission, so to speak. So I would say turn that off. And energy saving, again, you look what happens when I turn it on. The picture gets really, really dim. I talked about this in my HDR gaming picture calibration or settings video. I recommended in that video you turn it off, and my recommendation is again the same here. And like I said in my other video, TVs nowadays are so energy efficient, you really don't have to worry about setting any sort of energy saving functions on. You're really not going to hurt your energy bill or the environment by keeping the energy saving function off for the most part. Alright, now going up to the picture settings. Now picture mode, I have it in game, obviously. You want to have the lowest input lag, so you put it in game mode. We go down to the first setting, OLED light. I have mine at 45. I feel like, keep in mind I'm in a dark and controlled room here. I feel like 45 is pretty good for that environment. If you are in a very bright room, then you might want to set it up towards 60, 65, so that you can still see what's going on, so that the picture is not too dim. But in this instance, I have mine to 45, and I feel like it offers a nice, pleasing, and relatively contrasted image. Now, contrast, I have mine to 92, pretty much max, and as a matter of fact, if I were to go to 100, there's really not much of a difference between 92 and 100, but I don't really want to max out my television at 100 contrast. Part of me, for whatever reason, feels like that's not entirely necessary. But if you want to do that, by all means, go for it. But I've settled for around 90 to 92 in SDR mode. It offers a nice contrasted image with relatively good pop. The colors, as you can see in the bus, look pretty good. They look nice and saturated, but they're not overly saturated. They don't look artificial. So I think 92 is a good, solid setting. Brightness, I don't really touch this. 50 is default, I leave it as such. Sharpness, again, another subjective one. Same goes for HDR gaming picture settings. In that video that I did, I told you that I usually set the sharpness between 10 and 15. Feel free to set it wherever you like, but I feel like sharpness here at 12 is pretty good. Now this game is probably running somewhere around 1440p upscale to 4K, So it is nice and sharp, and there's really no need to add too much sharpness to the image. Because once you start doing that, things can start looking a little bit over sharpened, a little bit artificial. You might introduce a little bit of static or noise to your image. With such a clear game to begin with, you can keep your sharpness pretty low, between 10 and 15. As I said in my prior videos, if you're working with maybe 1080p content or 720p content, and you feel as though it's a touch on the blurry side, then by all means add a little bit more sharpness. Maybe you can bump it up to 20 or 25. But there's no real right or wrong answer here. The color I set to 62. The default setting is 55. I feel like setting it to 62 provides a little bit more saturation and a little bit more pop. But you know, if I were to go down to 55, you're not seeing a huge difference, honestly. So I bump it up just 7 points to 62 to give myself a little bit more saturation. Because keep in mind, you're in SDR mode here. You're not in high dynamic range mode. We all know in high dynamic range mode, you're getting a wider color gamut. You're getting DCI P3, you're getting some Rec 2020 color coverage. When you're using SDR mode, like this game currently is in right now, you're getting Rec 709. That's a much narrower gamut or color coverage. So that's why with SDR gaming, I tend to up the color a little bit more to try to compensate for that, to try to get a little bit more pop. So yeah, you could probably even get away with 65. I mean, you start going upwards of 75, 80, things might start looking a little bit artificial and overly saturated. But honestly, if I were to tell you, like, looking at this right now, this is still a pretty pleasing image to me, and we're at color 90. I mean, I wouldn't set it that high, because that's just, to me, that's kind of ridiculous. So that's why I set it to 65, 62, somewhere in that range. You're giving yourself a little bit more vivid color for SDR mode. Tint, I don't touch it. Advanced controls. Now with HDR, I would normally set this to off, because you're already getting a great contrasty, vivid image that pops off your screen. You're already dealing with 750, 800 nits of brightness, your TV's maximum luminance. Now when you, hold on a sec, let me just reconnect the controller. When you're dealing with SDR, you have much less brightness to play with. So I feel like with dynamic contrast, you can turn this on and it'll give you a little bit more pop, a little bit more vibrancy to your image in SDR mode. If I were to turn this off, you see things kind of get a little bit flat, things get a little bit dull. If I go to low, a little bit better. Then I go to medium, and you just get a little bit more pop there. There's a little bit more eye candy. It's probably not the most accurate setting for this game and for your TV, but to me, it's more aesthetically pleasing. The image is richer. Now, if I set it to high, that looks pretty good to me still. So really, I would go medium or high with SDR mode. It looks really nice. Super resolution, I don't mess with this. There's no need to over sharpen a game that is already really sharp and clear to begin with. And like I've said in the past, if you set it to high, if there's a game that you're playing that has a little bit of, jagginess to it or aliasing, then setting the super resolution to high, you could make that jagginess or aliasing worse. And there's just really no need, in my opinion, to have this on, so I go with off. Now, gamma is a setting that you can use in SDR mode. In HDR mode, the gamma setting is not adjustable because it is automatically preset along the EOTF curve. One of the commenters in my previous video pointed this out to me, so I appreciate that. I didn't realize that at first. So again, this is SDR, so you can adjust the gamma. So now if you are one of those people who feels like the SDR mode is too dim for you, what you can do is set your gamma to 1.9. See that? The screen brightens up pretty nicely and you have really good shadow detail. You're not losing any details in the shadows. If I were to bring Deacon inside of a room here that's really dark, look at the shadow detail. It's the middle of the night and you can still see everything really nicely. The lockers, the tool bench, over here on the wall, everything's still nice and bright. If you go to BT 1886, Look at that, way too dark. Your mid-tones are too dark. You're crushing some of your shadow detail. 2.4, same deal. 2.2 is a good compromise between 1.9 and 2.4. That's what I have it set at, 2.2. I feel like this is bright enough for you to preserve most of the shadow detail, but also to maintain a nice contrasted image. If you go to 1.9, yes, you get better shadow detail, but you're also kind of blowing out the image a little bit and you're losing a little bit of contrast and saturation. So that's why I recommend you set it to 2.2. But again, if you're one of those people struggling with SDR being too dim, you can always go 1.9. White balance, as I've said before, OLEDs tend to run a little bit on the blue side, so I have mine set to warm 1. And I'd also like to give kudos to another commenter of mine in a previous video mentioned that one way to combat sort of that bluish glow or tint that OLEDs tend to give off is to go to color temperature method 2 and you go down to blue and you set it to -12. And I've been doing that the last couple days, and I feel like it does a pretty good job of balancing out the TV between warm and cold. Before, I had often set the game to warm 2 to try to combat some of that blueness, and now I get away most of it setting it to warm 1 and using blue at -12. Try it out and certainly let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Color management, more advanced settings. I don't mess with this, and I would recommend you probably not mess with it either. Peak brightness is a setting that is grayed out in SDR mode. You cannot adjust this setting in SDR mode. It is merely for HDR mode to make sure that you're getting the absolute peak luminance from your TV when displaying high dynamic range, so that those bright highlights actually really pop for you. Now, noise reduction and MPEG noise reduction, I don't use either one of those. You already have a nice, clean image that is upscaled to 4K. There really is no noise. If you look at this image, there's no noise to speak of, and any noise that you might be seeing is probably from my GoPro Hero 8 camera, as this is a really kind of dark recording right now, so that the image tends to get a little bit grainy. But rest assured, with sitting right here looking at this LG OLED, there is absolutely no noise to speak of. It's nice, it's crisp, it's pristine, it's a high resolution source. So that's why I say you don't necessarily need to turn noise reduction on or MPEG noise reduction. If you were using the LG OLED as your PC monitor and you were streaming some low bit content or 720p or 1080p content to 4K, then sure, maybe you would benefit from a little bit of noise reduction to try to clean up that image. But as it pertains to Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, most of those games are already pretty high resolution, so there's really no noise to speak of. Smooth gradation, and I said this in my HDR picture settings video, the LG OLED C10 is prone to some banding, particularly in skylines, where there is a similar shade of one color from, say, darker to lighter. Oftentimes you'll see a little bit of banding. It's not terrible, but it is present.
Who's out there?
Oh, somebody just said, "Who's out there?" Somebody gonna try to kill me?
Men coming!
Oh! Just had to kill that guy real quick. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Smooth gradation, yeah, so there's a little bit of banding on this TV. If you want to set it to low, that can help to mitigate some of that banding. I feel like it doesn't do a whole lot though, and some have said since the last firmware update that smooth gradation is not working as it's supposed to, so perhaps we need to wait for another firmware update to get better functionality from this setting. You could even set it to high, but in my experience, while helping with gradation, it doesn't totally eliminate it. So I'm not really sure it's worth it, because by setting it to high, you can end up smoothing out your picture a little bit, maybe making it a little bit softer, and that's not necessarily something you want to do. You want to keep it nice and sharp. So that's why I just set mine to off. Now, again, to touch on those people who complain that SDR gaming is a little bit too dim on their LG OLEDs or OLEDs in general, black level is an important one. When it comes to high dynamic range, I almost always set the black level to low, because you're dealing with such a high peak luminance to begin with. The screen is already so bright that you can afford to set the black level to low. It gives you a nice contrasted image that pops. If you're using standard dynamic range like this game is in, then the image is much dimmer. It's a little bit more flat. So if you were to set the black level to low, it just crushes everything. The detail is crushed. The shadow detail is terrible. Like, look in this room right now. You can't see anything in that room right there. It's so dim, and you're losing so much detail. Now, if you go back to high, see, you're getting some of that detail back. You can see the desk here. You can see the cabinets back here, or the shelving back here. You run into the room, and things just are easier to see, easier to navigate. So that's why I say, in SDR content or mode, I would set your black level to high. Now, even if you set it to auto, it seems as though the LG is keeping it at high, because there's no difference between the two. Again, low, see everything? Crushed. You really don't want that. It's hard. You can barely even see the gun on Deacon's back right now. High, the detail's there. It's all preserved. It looks good. And this is closely related to gamma, as we talked about earlier. If you go back to advanced controls and you look at gamma, if you were to put the gamma down to 2.4, see, it makes things a little bit too dark. That's why I have it at 2.2, to maintain some of that visibility. Now, you could go to 1.9, it makes things even more visible. You can actually do 1.9 and then go back to picture options and do black level low. But even then, with the gamma all the way jacked up, as bright as it can go, the black level set to low still crushes detail. So that is why you cannot get away, in my opinion, at least not in this game where it has a day-night cycle and you're dealing with a lot of shadows. You cannot get away with a black level set to low, really under almost any circumstance when viewing SDR. So put it to high and then go back to your gamma. You don't need your gamma to be at 1.9 if your black level is high. You can get away with your gamma at 2.2. This gives you some shadow back. This gives you a little bit more contrast while preserving all the shadow detail. So back to picture options. Motion eye care, I keep this off. Again, this is another one of those automatic functions that the TV has. It'll adjust the brightness by analyzing image movements to prevent glare or reduce energy consumption. I am not interested in the TV adjusting any of my settings for me, so I turn it off. Again, you do what you gotta do. If you want that setting on, by all means, go for it. True motion, now this is, again, as we talked about previously, this is black frame insertion. You can go with off, which is what I normally do, especially with SDR content. The motion processing on this TV is so good that I really don't feel like you need black frame insertion. And black frame insertion has a few negatives to speak of, and I've touched on this before. But black frame insertion adds a little bit of processing, and so it can add a little bit of additional input lag to your gaming experience, although it's mostly negligible. You probably won't notice it, but it does add some input lag. And as I've touched on before, when you turn it on, your screen gets dimmer. So low, a little dimmer, medium, a little dimmer, and high, very dim, and you have a little bit of perceptible flicker. I can see it right now on the screen. But rest assured, by setting the OLED Motion Pro to high, the image is just too dark for my liking. And if you're somebody that is already struggling with SDR being too dim, the last thing you're probably going to want to do is turn on OLED Motion Pro to high, because you're really going to suffer from a dim image and you're going to probably get a little bit of black crush. You could probably get away with setting it to low, as it does not, on the low setting, crush blacks too badly, and it does not dim your screen too badly either. And there's also no flicker in the low or medium settings. And I feel like maybe it does enhance motion a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? It's on right now in low. Motion's pretty smooth, I guess. If I were to set it to off, the screen gets nice and bright, which is what I like, which is why I keep it off. But look at the motion. It feels great to me either way, on or off. I don't notice much of a difference personally, which is why I keep it off, because you're maintaining that nice bright image. So yeah, those are pretty much all of my settings. If you have any questions or comments, certainly leave them down below in the comment section. I will do my best to respond to each and every one of you. If you like this video, by all means leave a like. If you have any other ideas, or you want me to provide you with my picture settings for 4K Blu-ray, by all means make that request down in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please by all means do so. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Take care. Bye.